You literally yelled at your TV when you were watching my shows. I know it. And I'm going to reveal the formula that made it happen. For 22 years, I was a television executive at Fox 21 Television Studios and A&E. My job was to find and develop and oversee the development and production and post-production and launch of television shows. Sons of Anarchy, Duck Dynasty, Intervention, 60 Days In, those were some of my projects. Here's what I discovered. Some shows made you consume content quietly, and others made you yell at your screens. Put yourself in the situation, and then you told 5 friends about what you watched. And guess what I call this? Holy... You thought I was going to say it? Nope. Holy $2 bill TV. Content so compelling that you couldn't help but react. And today, I'm going to reveal the exact formula that made it happen. This is the Talkback TV secret, and it's about to transform how you create content forever and think about your brand. So let me tell you what I discovered after 22 years of developing hit television shows. We created what I call Holy $2 bill TV. Content so compelling that you literally yelled at your screens. Enough that the person upstairs goes, "Who's here? What are you yelling at?" Because it was so loud. So 60 Days In, perfect example. We took ordinary people like you and put them in undercover in jail for 60 days. And the reaction, your reaction, insane. You were yelling at your TVs. Are you crazy? I could never do that. What would I do in that situation? Sons of Anarchy had you screaming at Jax's decision. Duck Dynasty had you talking about this millionaire redneck family at every dinner table. And Intervention made you cry and call your own family members to make sure they're okay. Here's what I realized. The shows that became cultural phenomenon, they all had one thing in common. They made you put yourself in a situation, in that situation that we were representing on screen. Those shows created what I call the what would I do factor. And that's when it hit me. The difference between a hit television show and a forgotten show, it's not production value, not budget, not talent. It's whether you talk back to your content. So I started analyzing every successful show I'd worked on. And I found the pattern. Every single hit had 3 elements. 3 elements that made you unable to stop talking about them. I call it the Talkback TV formula. Shock, relate, share. So this isn't just theory. This is what actually made you yell at your TVs, and then you told 5 friends about what you watched. So let me break down each element of the authentic Talkback TV formula. Element 1, shock. This is the holy $2 bill moment. It's content or your brand that's so unexpected, so compelling that you can't help but react. 60 Days In, holy $2 bill. Ordinary people are going undercover in jail for 60 days. That's nuts. People couldn't believe, you couldn't believe what you were saying. Sons of Anarchy, holy $2 bill. Did Jax really just do that to his own club? That moral complexity and shocking decisions made you yell at your screens. And Duck Dynasty, you know you're gonna say it, holy $2 bill. These millionaire rednecks are the most famous family in America. The contrast was so unexpected, it demanded attention from you. The shock element isn't just surprise though. It's content or your brand so compelling that you have a visceral reaction. You can't stay silent. You have to express what you're feeling. Let's move on to element 2, which is relate. This is the what would I do factor. This is when you don't just watch, but you put yourselves in the situation that's being represented on screen. So with 60 Days In, you asked yourself, could I survive 60 days in jail? What would I do if I were in that situation? How would I handle the danger? And that's what made you yell at your TVs. You weren't just watching someone else's experience. You were imagining your own. You were emotionally invested because you could see yourself in that situation. Sons of Anarchy made you question your own moral boundaries. Duck Dynasty made you think about your own family dynamics. And Intervention made you examine your own relationships. The relate element transforms you from a passive viewer into an active participant. You're not just consuming content then. You're not just you're not just living a brand or just responding to it, you're experiencing it. And element 3, share. This is what makes your brand and your content spread like wildfire. When you have a strong emotional reaction and can relate to that situation, you can't help but share it. You tell your friends, you gotta see the show about people going undercover in jail. You post on social media. You are the one that creates buzz and controversy. You become my unpaid marketing team. Here's the key. You don't share just because you ask them to. They share because they can't help themselves. The content, the brand created such a strong reaction that the sharing part becomes inevitable. And this is absolutely what separated my hit shows from the not so hit shows. The hits made you feel something so strongly that you had to talk about it. Now, here's how you apply the authentic talkback TV formula to your business, to your content, to your brand. You got to create shock elements, authentic shock elements. So instead of boring content, create holy $2 bill moments that make your audience react, make your customers react. Don't just say, I help businesses with marketing. Say, I use secrets from $2 billion worth of TV shows to make businesses impossible to ignore. That's shock element. So people think, holy $2 bill, TV secrets for business? That's different. Then you have to build the relate factor. You've got to make your audience put themselves in the situation that you're in. You've got to create that what would I do factor. So instead of just being like everyone else and sharing your success, why don't you share the moments where your audience can imagine themselves in your shoes? Here's an example. I was sitting in my office at A&E and I was watching a show fail when I overheard a conversation that changed everything how I think about content. So now people are thinking, what would I do in that situation? What conversation would change everything? And lastly, you've got to make your content or your brand message shareable. You got to create your brand and content so compelling that your ideal customer can't help but tell others about it. So that happens when you combine the first two elements. When you combine shock and relate, people, your audience, your ideal customer has such a strong reaction and they can see themselves in the situation that you just presented. And then sharing just becomes automatic. They tell their friends, yeah, I got to hear this story about the TV executive who discovered why some content goes viral and other content gets ignored. Well, at least I hope they say that. The talkback TV formula works because it taps into human psychology. We are wired to react to shocking content, right? We relate to relatable situations and we share experiences that move us. So when your brand, your content passes that talkback TV test, you're not just creating content, you're creating reactions. And reactions create conversations. And conversations, they create communities, and communities create customers. Customers for life. So here's how the Talkback TV formula connects to building your authority. Just like a $2 bill, your content, your brand needs to be the only in its category. It needs to be memorable, valuable beyond face value, and something people just want to talk about. When someone encounters a $2 bill, when you encounter a $2 bill, You have a reaction, right? Holy $2 bill. I've never seen one of those, or haven't seen one of those in a long time. Then you relate to it. What would I do with this? And then you kind of share it or you talk about it. Look what I got, a $2 bill. You do that about a one, a five, maybe 100. That's exactly what Talkback TV content and what Talkback TV brand does. It creates the same psychological response that makes that $2 bill unforgettable. The Talkback TV formula is how you turn your only positioning into content that spreads like wildfire. It's how you eliminate competition by creating content so compelling that you can't ignore it. And tomorrow, we're going to dive into the 30-second positioning test. How to communicate your unique value so clearly that people understand it instantly and remember it forever. But if you want to get ahead of the curve, if you want to complete this Hollywood authority blueprint that I have, and you want to complete it right now, just comment $2 bill below. The number two, dollar bill below. And I'm going to personally send you the complete framework, including the authentic Talkback TV templates, the shock plus relate plus share worksheets, and step-by-step instructions to make your content impossible to ignore. So don't spend another day creating content and creating a brand that gets consumed and forgotten. It's time to create holy $2 bill content that makes you yell at your screens and have your customers yell at their screens and tell 5 friends about it. Comment $2 bill now, and I will see you tomorrow. As always, be unforgettable. Be the $2 bill.